Who makes the best rectangular watch on the market? Patek Philippe, Piaget, JLC, or Cartier? Today we're going to find out, and we won't be cutting any corners in this video. Let's get into it. First up is one of the most famous rectangular watches on the market. It's probably the most recognizable, a JLC Reverso. The Reverso was released in 1931, originally made for the polo market. The idea was that you could easily swivel over this pivoting case and expose a solid stainless steel case back that would protect the watch crystal from the blows of polo mallets. But in a modern context, the Reverso has gone on to sort of enjoy a sort of dress watch reputation as one of the more elegant Art Deco callbacks in the watch industry. As the Reverso has gained popularity, JLC saw an opportunity to create a diverse range of offerings under the umbrella of the Reverso. And that's how you get watches like this particular piece, which features a duo face configuration, meaning that when you flip the watch over, instead of having a solid stainless steel caseback, you have a second dial. This allows you to easily set a second time zone on the back of the watch, which means that when you're flying from one country to another, you can simply flip your watch over and you have access to a new time zone. Makes these watches super desirable for travel and also probably one of the best conversation starters across the entire industry. For the money, these are some of the most versatile watches on the market, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Moving on to two different Patek Philippe models. Patek has made a number of different square and rectangular watches over their history, and I think that these two pieces provide sort of a snapshot of the types of pieces that Patek is known for. First off, we have a 1950s square watch that Patek made. This is a reference 2496. Looking at this watch sort of up close, I think you see a lot of the different characteristics that we find on round watches from Patek Philippe with these really simple dial. We have just applique indexes, we have spear hands, sub-seconds at 6 o'clock. This is a double-signed piece, which is always quite cool to see. And while the dial is quite subdued, we do have some interesting detail extended to the case. This has a clou de Paris hobnail pattern extended not only on the bezel, but also on the case flanks. And I don't think there are many watches that Patek has made or any brand has made sort of have this aesthetic. If you're looking for an exciting vintage piece that's in excellent condition, that encapsulates everything that makes Patek Patek, but extended to a rectangular package, I think it's hard to beat this. On the other side of the spectrum, we have what's probably Patek's most sold watch, even though no one talks about it, and that is the Patek Philippe 24. It's designed for the ladies market, and I think that what it does well is subdue all of the elements that make fine watches enticing into its most distilled package. A really lovely blue sunray dial that has a sort of gradient finish. We have applique diamond indexes, and then we have diamonds applied vertically on the flanks of the watch. Continuing down the bracelet, there's zero taper on this bracelet, which I think makes it look more like a bracelet you'd have in a stack of other bracelets. And it sort of plays off of the motif of the way that the case is finished with this sort of stepped profile. That extends straight down into the bracelet and all the way back to the other side of the case. Not particularly unique, but I think that it does everything that you'd want to see in an elegant one watch collection incredibly well. And I think that if you're looking for an ideal everyday watch, this quartz piece might be the one and only Patek that you ever need if you just want something elegant and classy to wear every day. Moving along, Piaget has made many of the most popular and exciting watches of the 70s. What we have here is a sub $10,000 watch that I think packs an incredible punch. This is a white gold piece with a bark finish on the bracelet, type of degree of detail that you don't see today, especially at this price point. And we also have a Lapis dial. So between a manually wound movement within that gives it a really thin aesthetic, I think there's so much going on here from a design standpoint that trying to replicate a watch of this kind in a modern market would be a multiple of the price point that these are currently trading at. I think under $10,000 for a precious metal watch like this is an incredible value, and I think Piaget is certainly poised for a further renaissance in the years to come, and we're going to see pre-owned values for these watches continuing to rise as more and more collectors appreciate the simplicity, but also the sophistication of watches of this kind. Moving along, we're going to highlight two more icons of the rectangular and square watch market, respectively, starting with a Cartier Tank Louis. We've spoken about the Cartier Tank extensively on the channel in the past, and I will link to our full deep dive going through the dozens of iterations that the Cartier Tank has taken over its storied history. But the Cartier Tank Louis is undoubtedly the most recognizable and successful of all models. It has this beautiful rounded brancards on the left and right side of the watch, and it sort of seamlessly blends the lugs into the case flanks and into the bezel. It's a really unique design, again, made to mimic the tracks of a military tank from World War I, the Renault FT-17. The Cartier Tank has since blossomed into a collection of a variety of different takes on that underlying design ethos. No matter what you like, there's an iteration that might appeal to your tastes. You have a more modest proportion on the case size. This particular piece is a manually wound iteration. We have a railroad minute track, Roman numeral dial, blued steel hands, blue cabochon. These are all details we see across Cartier collections. This watch is really the watch that popularized that phenomenon, and it's undoubtedly an icon of the rectangular watchmaking segment. I think if you're looking for a dress piece to sort of start your collecting journey with rectangular watches, you'd be hard-pressed to beat a Cartier Tank. Finally, we have one of the most versatile offerings out there. This is a Cartier Santos. It was originally designed for Alberto Santos Dumont, one of the most famous pilots of the era. It was designed as actually probably the first tool watch of the time. It has a really utilitarian design language with these exposed screws on the bezel and continuing straight down the bracelet, but it does so in an elegant way. And I think this is something that we see also on the Tank Louis from before. As we said, this was a brutalist military tank that they turned into one of the most elegant timepieces on the market. And I think here we have the industrial counterpart to that. With juxtaposed brushed and polished surfaces, somehow Cartier manages to take what could be incredibly functional and casual and turn it into an incredibly elegant package. This particular iteration of the Santos is one of my personal favorites. It comes in the mid-size 35mm configuration. This was made in a variety of different examples. This is a brown dial. They also made a blue dial, a white dial, of course, and a green dial. You have a quick change on the bracelet that allows you to seamlessly swap out this bracelet for a variety of different alligator leather straps. And I think that if you get this watch with a matching alligator leather strap, you have a dress watch, you have an everyday watch, you have a sports watch. It packs 100 meters of water resistance, an automatic movement that's incredibly reliable and serviceable. And I could easily see this being a one-watch collection. And I think that this is easily one of the greatest rectangular watches on the market. So, which is my personal favorite? If I were looking for one rectangular watch that I think characterizes this segment particularly well, I would personally be choosing between a Reverso and a Santos. And the reason is that I think both of these watches manage to walk the line between dress and sport incredibly well. Again, we said before, the Reverso was originally designed for sports applications, and yet today it's recognized as one of the coolest dress watches on the market. An incredibly sophisticated case. There are dozens and dozens of different moving parts that make this case work. For the price of a relatively accessible luxury watch, you gain access to two quality watches, and I think that that's really, really unique. On the other end of the spectrum, as we said before, I think that the Santos also does an excellent job of being sophisticated in its execution, but also utilitarian and reliable in an everyday application. That versatility is incredibly valuable when you're looking for one watch to characterize a segment. That said, I think that you get some of the more exciting iterations from brands like Piaget that do things that we are not going to see from Cartier or from JLC. Similarly, if you're looking for something a little bit more exciting on the vintage side of things, I think that going back to the 1950s archive from Patek, you get a lot of character here. I think that that's something that you're not seeing elsewhere on the market, and that's also quite cool. You don't get the same degree of particularity that you find on vintage watches that were made in very small production that you find on sort of mass-produced watches in the modern era. So who makes the best rectangular watch? Is it one of these four brands, or is there someone we missed? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.